Our second scripture reading this day comes to us from the book of First Kings. And I will start in chapter 3 at verse 5 and go through verse 15, and then we'll pick up again at chapter 4, verse 29. Verse 3, chapter 5. At Gibeon, the Lord appeared to Solomon during the night in a dream, and God said, "Ask for whatever you want me to give you." Solomon answered, "You have shown great kindness to your servant, my father David, because he was faithful to you and righteous and upright in heart. You have continued this great kindness to him and have given him a son to sit on his throne this very day. Now, Lord my God, you have made your servant king in place of my father David, but I am only a little child and do not know how to carry out my duties. Your servant is here among your people. You have chosen a great people, too numerous to count or number. So give your servant a discerning heart to govern your people and to distinguish between right and wrong. For who is able to govern this great people of yours?" The Lord was pleased that Solomon had asked for this. So God said to him, "Since you have asked for this, not for long life or wealth for yourself, nor do you ask for the death of your enemies, but for discernment in administering justice, I will do what you have asked. I will give you a wise and discerning heart, so there will never have been anyone like you, nor will there ever be. Moreover, I will give you what you have not asked for, both wealth and honor, so that in your lifetime you will have no equal among kings. And you will walk in obedience, and if you walk in obedience to me, and keep my decrees and commandments as David your father did, I will give you a long life." Then Solomon awoke, and he realized it had been a dream. Then skipping down to chapter 4, verse 29. God gave Solomon wisdom and very great insight, and a breadth of understanding as measureless as the sand on the seashore. Solomon's wisdom was greater than the wisdom of all the people of the East, and greater than all of the wisdom of Egypt. He was wiser than anyone else, including Ethan the Ezrahite, wiser than Heman and Calcol and Daradah, the sons of Mahol. And his fame spread to all the surrounding nations. He spoke 3,000 proverbs, and his songs numbered 1,005. He spoke about plant life, from the cedars of Lebanon to the hyssop that grows out of walls. He also spoke about animals and birds, reptiles and fish. And from all nations people came to listen to Solomon's wisdom, sent by all the kings of the world who had heard of his wisdom. Let us pray. Take my lips, O Lord, and speak with them. Take our minds this day and think with them. Take our hearts and set them on fire for you and your children. Amen. I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, have seen the movie Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. For the one or two of you who haven't, this may be a spoiler alert, but if you'll remember at the climax of the movie, they finally get to the room where the Holy Grail is. And there's this ancient old knight guarding the room, and this room is filled with cups and drinking bowls of all shapes and sizes and of all kinds of different materials. And the knight says, "You must choose properly, because one will give you life, and all the rest will kill you." Well, the bad guy picks a cup, and he takes a drink of it, and sure enough, he dies. And the knight says, "He chose poorly." One of my favorite lines in the whole movie. And then Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford, goes and finds a cup, and he takes a drink and looks at the knight expectantly, and the knight says, "You have chosen wisely. I think we have one of those situations in our text this morning. You see, Solomon has gone to Gibeon. It's about 6 miles from Jerusalem, and he's gone to worship God, and he ends up spending the night. And during the night, he has a dream. And God comes to him and says, ask for whatever you want me to give you. How would you respond to that question? I regret that wisdom in and of itself would probably not be my first choice. I might ask for wealth. I mean, I have a whole bunch of student loan debt to pay off. It'd be great to get all that paid off early. Might ask for health or long life, or even protection of my family and my loved ones. But I would have chosen poorly. For you see, Solomon begins by saying, you have shown great kindness to your servant, my father David, because he was faithful to you, and he was righteous and upright in heart, and you've been kind to him even to this very day by giving him a son to sit on the throne. But I'm only a little child, Solomon says. He's in his mid-20s. But any of us who have ever started a new job that we thought we knew what we were getting into in theory until we got there and realized that praxis and theory are two very different things. I don't know what I'm doing, Solomon says. There's no way I can govern this great people you have given me that's too numerous to count. So give me a wise and discerning heart to distinguish between right and wrong and be able to govern your people correctly. Solomon, it seems, chose wisely. For God is pleased, and he says, since you have asked for this and not health or wealth, not even for the destruction of your enemies, I will do what you have asked. Moreover, which is Bible speak for, but wait, there's more. Since you've not asked for that stuff, but for the wisdom to discern between right and wrong, I will give you what you haven't asked for as well. I will give you wealth and honor so that there will not be anyone equal to you ever. And if you're faithful to me, like your father David was, and you obey my commands like your father David did, I will give you a long life. Which, in and of itself, that's good thought for us because, well, we all know that David wasn't perfect in that. And so that gives us hope for when we mess up as well. That we can still repent. We can still be faithful children of God. But then Solomon wakes up. And he realizes it was a dream. That sort of makes you wonder about your own dreams, doesn't it? I mean, I, for one, very rarely dream. And if I do dream, I don't remember them when I wake up. But how do we know this wasn't just a, what on earth was that about kind of dream? Well, we know by reading verse 16 of chapter 3 and following, where it turns out that two prostitutes come to King Solomon. They're roommates, and they had children about the same time, and during the night, one of the children dies. There's no one around. So the mother of the dead child swaps the children. And now she has the live child, and her roommate is stuck with the dead child. Well, there's no one around to be able to vouch for one or the other. So they've gone to the king to plead with him. What do we do? It's my kid. No, it's my kid. No, it's my kid. And Solomon doesn't have the luxury of DNA to just do a DNA test that says, well, DNA says you're the mother, so y'all go away. He does what I first worded as the next best thing, which the more I thought about it, I can't really call what Solomon does a best idea, because he says, cut the baby in half and give the now dead baby, give each half to each woman. Well, one woman, the one that turns out to actually be the mother, says, no, don't cut the baby in half. She can have it. Just don't kill the baby. And the other woman, whose son had died, said, well, if I can't have him, you can't either, so go ahead and cut him in half. And Solomon discerns the one who protested was the true mother, and overturns his original ruling and says, give the baby to the woman who protested, for she is its rightful mother. Like I said, I can't really say that Solomon's methods were a best idea. But verse 28 of chapter 3 tells us that it was brought awe to the people. Chapter 3, verse 28 says, when all Israel heard the verdict the king had given, they held the king in awe, because they saw that he had wisdom from God to administer justice. Turns out what Solomon did, in fact, get all this wisdom and all of this stuff, that he was immensely powerful and immensely wealthy. Just some of the daily provisions of Solomon in chapter 4, that Solomon's daily provisions were about 5.5 tons of the finest flour daily, and 11 tons of meal, 10 head of stall-fed cattle, 20 of the pasture-fed cattle, 100 sheep and goats, as well as deer, gazelles, roebucks, and choice fowl, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Daily. But God gave Solomon wisdom and very great insight, and a breadth of understanding as measureless as the sand on the seashore. He was wiser than everyone, spoke 3,000 proverbs, and 1,005 hymns. Was a prolific writer of natural science and the animals of the world, the plants around him. And people from all over the known world came to study at his feet. God tells Solomon, ask for whatever you want me to give you. How would we respond? How would we respond to that question personally, professionally, collectively as a congregation or a city or a state or a nation? How would we respond? What do we want God to give us? Personally, professionally, emotionally, spiritually. I fear most of us would not choose wisdom in and of itself. And there's a problem with the surface reading of our text this morning that goes to show that you have to read more in depth and more discernment of this text. Because if you're not careful, you can take the message from this text that if you ask for wisdom, God will give you wealth. And God doesn't work that way. God gives us wisdom. Gives us wisdom. Gives the wisdom of our elders amongst us. The ones who have been around and know how to be ornery like cricket. people at whose feet we can sit and learn what it was like to have all those kinds of experiences that we may not have had. There was a quote that I read this week by a man named William Temple. And he said, the spiritually minded person does not differ from the materially minded person chiefly in thinking about different things, but in thinking about the same things different. For you see, wisdom tells us to be wise with our money, to not spend beyond our means, to save for a rainy day. Wisdom tells us that it's not wise to go base jumping, although people do it. I don't understand why. Wisdom helps keep us safe. Wisdom helps us to make the right decisions. Wisdom, in and of itself, leads or can lead, when used, to having better health and more wealth and honor because you're not doing stupid stuff. I regret I've done stupid stuff. I'm sure each of you have done stupid stuff you wish you hadn't done, and those of you who haven't, just wait, you will. But I keep coming back to wisdom. And there's a story that back on September 11th, 2001, when the Secret Service and President George Bush's advisors have come to him and says that there's been planes that have flown into the World Trade Center, and there's all of these attacks going on, that when they get on Air Force One, President Bush asks for a moment alone. And he thinks of a song, grant us wisdom, grant us courage for the facing of this hour. Even President Bush would say he didn't make all the right decisions, but he went with the best wisdom he had at the time and the most courage he could stand and face the hour. That, my friends, is the wisdom like Solomon gives us, like Solomon has asked for. The wisdom to be able to discern the right thing, and then the courage to do it. And as church, it makes for an awe-filled church that I love to be a part of. Grant us wisdom, O God, and grant us courage. Amen.